Well, I'm going to do then a little preview of, you may or may not have gotten through these next two sections. So I'm going to do like adding and subtracting, and then how you solve. And then you guys, when you watch the videos, hopefully it goes quickly or easier for you after you've seen a little bit of it. Okay, so adding and subtracting is just like when you do this with normal fractions. Like if I gave you, well, I don't know, 3/4 plus 2/4, they have the same denominator, so you can add them, and that would be 5/4. Okay, that works because you have the same denominator. If you have something like 1/2 plus 3/4, some of you can do that in your head if you are good at fractions, but otherwise you can't just like add that mathematically. You have to make a common denominator. So like this one, the common denominator is going to be 4. This one I would need to multiply the top and bottom by 2, so that it becomes 2/4 plus 3/4. And then that would be, I guess I did it again, 5/4. Okay. So some of the fractions that you're going to be given, we'll do more challenging ones. They either start with the same denominator and you can just add them. It doesn't matter if you're adding or subtracting, it works the same. But some of them you're going to have to make common denominators and then combine them and then add them. Okay. So something like, we'll just start with something easier. So 5x over 7 plus 2x over 7. Again, they have the same denominator, so we can just add those. It'd be 5x plus 2x, which I can combine. So that'll be 7x. And then here you can actually, since this is all multiplication, I can actually cross off those 7s, and this would just be an x. You definitely want to watch your signs, because I have students who get them all mixed up. Like by the time you get to the unit test and they're not all separated by section, make sure you're really looking to see if it's addition or multiplication or division, because all those problems will be mixed together. And so you really have to look for sure. Let me do another one real quick. Okay, so 6m over m plus 3 plus 6 over m plus 3. I have students who right now would want to cancel the 6 and the 2. You can't do that. The m plus 3 is locked together. So unless you can cancel the whole thing, you can't touch it. Okay, so be careful of that. But they're the same denominator, so I can add them on top. So it'll be 2m plus 6 over m plus 3. And a lot of students will leave it like that. However, you're not done. Do you see there's a common factor in the top? I can factor out a 2, and that'll be m plus 3 all over m plus 3. And now that that whole thing is the same, you can cancel that, and it'll be 2. Okay, so those are kind of some like simpler ones that you might see where the denominator is already the same. So let's talk about making a common denominator. Okay, so 7 over 15m squared plus 3 over 5m. So I'm going to try to make a common denominator. Between the 5 and the 15, it's 15. So this one I'm going to need to multiply by 3, and you have to do it to the top and the bottom to make that a 15. And then I'm also missing an m because this is an m squared. So I also need to multiply by m to the top and the bottom. Okay, so when you're doing it to the top and the bottom, it doesn't actually change it because that's 1. So this will be 7 over 15m squared plus 9m over 15m squared. Okay, so that's just making it so it's the common denominator. And now I'm going to combine those, and I'm just going to write 9m plus 7 over 15m squared. Can I cancel the 9 and the 15 because 3 goes into both of those? Nope. People will, but you can't because the 9m plus 7 is all locked together. If I could factor something out of the top, then cancel it, I could do that, but that's all you can do. Then you stop. What do we think about that? Any thoughts on those? Are we doing okay? Let me find another one. Okay, so m plus 1 over m minus 3 over 3m. So my common denominator is going to be 3. And so I got to multiply the top and bottom by 3. But this, students make mistakes on a lot. This, again, is all locked together. So when I multiply this by 3, you have to distribute it to the 3 to the m and the 1. So this will become 3m plus 3 over 3m plus m minus 3 over 3m. Okay, so now they have the common denominator. I can add what's on top. So this will be 3, well, I'll write it all together. 3m plus 3 plus m minus 3. So I just wrote it as one fraction. And now I'm going to combine things on top that I can. So the 3m and the m would be a 4m. And then I've got 3 minus 3, that's gone, it's 0. Over 3m, so 4m over 3m. And now, since it's all multiplication and division, I can cancel those m's and get 4 over 3. Let me do a subtraction one because there's a couple little tricks in a subtraction that you got to be real careful with. Find one. Hold on, let me find the problem I want to do for subtraction. I'm so bummed. I have so many good worksheets on this chapter, and of course, I'm not assigning them to you guys are doing ingenuity stuff, but yes. Okay, so let me do this. Okay, so just to show this already has a common denominator, x plus 5 and x plus 5 are in subtraction. So I can combine them right now because I already have a common denominator, which is x plus 5. The first part, I have 4x plus 7. What you have to be really careful is this is subtraction. This subtraction goes to these things. So you put minus, and it's like it's in a parenthesis, x minus 6. Hopefully you can start to do this all in one step, but I'm just showing you. But that negative has to get distributed. So you have 4x plus 7 minus x and a plus 6 at the end. That's the part, the plus 6, most students don't get. If they distribute it wrong, they'll do a minus x, but then they leave it as minus 6. That is one of the most common mistakes I see in this chapter. So you got to distribute the negative to both of them. This should be a plus 6. So now when I just combine them, 4x minus x would be 3x. 7 plus 6 would be 13 over x plus 5. So you'll probably see a few problems like that as well. And then you'll also see some like factoring ones that are in there as well. And I'm guessing that you will. Let me do one. Let's see. There's a couple. So it's 2. Okay. So here I've got 2 over x minus 5, 3 over 4x. So with this, you really can't just like make this a common denominator unless you just multiply these two things together. I can't just make this like minus a 5, or it just doesn't work. So my whole common denominator, I'm going to multiply this first one by 4x to the top and the bottom because that's what it's missing. This one is missing an x minus 5, so I'm going to multiply it by x minus 5 to the top and the bottom. Okay. So this top would be 8x over 4x times x minus 5. I'm going to have plus 3 times x minus 5. Does that make sense? And so this one was missing a 4x, so we multiply that to the top and bottom. This one was missing the x minus 5. I just wrote one fraction. But this will be 8x multiplied, this 3 times x minus 5. So now I have to distribute that 3 on top. So that'll be 3x minus 15 over 4x, x minus 5. I'm just going to add those to be 11x minus 15, 4x, x minus 5, like that. This you can't simplify. There's nothing like I can factor out or simplify to the top and the bottom. So that's just it. That would be your final answer right there. There are some other, do you want me to do more examples, or you guys are good on that? Because then you're going to also have the learning from ingenuity. Does that make sense for you guys? I can do some harder problems. I'm just not sure if you guys are like, okay, that's good. We get it. How are you guys feeling? More or move on? I would need some input from like the 4 or 5 of you. Anybody? Hello? Okay, well, if there's no input, I will stop doing examples there and do some more examples of the next thing, okay? So you really, in this chapter, want to keep track of the symbol you have. So at the very, like the first 4 sections were all multiplication and division. So multiplication, you can cancel anything from the top to the bottom. With division, you change it to multiplication and flip that second fraction, and then it becomes multiplication again. So all of those pretty much work the same. Now you're getting to adding and subtracting. So now we go back to just like rules of fractions where you have to have a common denominator, make a common denominator, and then combine it. And then always double check for greatest common factor to see if you can simplify that at the end. What we're going to do now is solving. So these are going to have equal signs in them. So you really, again, want to watch what symbol you have in your problem. So you're going to cross multiply, but this only works if it's an equal sign. Okay, so you have an equal sign. I have students who do this when they're just trying to simplify if this was multiplication. Don't do that. It's a giant mess and you'll never get the right answer that way. Okay, so this only works when it's equal. And I'm just going to show you one time like the long way of why this happens. Okay, so if I just wanted to solve this, I have to get rid of the fractions. So this one I'm going to multiply by x plus 2 to both sides. Okay, so this cancels, right? That's the whole goal. Okay, so now I've got 4 equals 3x plus 2 over x plus 1. Now I got to get rid of the x plus 1. So I multiply by the x plus 1 to both sides so that that will cancel. Okay, so let's look at what I end up with. 4 times x plus 1 equals 3 times x plus 2. Do you see that if I crossed product at the very beginning, I would get 4 times x plus 1 and 3 times x plus 2? Do you see that? It's just mathematically just getting rid of the fractions. But when you see this, we're going to just do a cross product because that's how it cancels out the fractions, okay? Once you get to this point, then you distribute. So this would be 4x plus 4. This you distribute, 3x plus 6. And this is just back to solving equations. You're going to get all the x's on one side, the numbers on the other. So I'm going to subtract the 3x. I'll just be x. I got to subtract the 4. And so this would, equals. So that would equal 2. All right, so let me just do a couple examples of that. Some of these can be trickier. Some are just straightforward like that. Let's do another more simple one. Okay, so another fraction, we have this as an equal sign, so we need to solve this. We're going to do cross product, so this would be x times x minus 4, so I did this across, equals 3 times 7, which would be 21. Now I'm going to distribute this, so I have x squared minus 4x equals 21. How do I solve something like this? When you have an x squared, what are you going to have to do? Magic word that you've been seeing a lot. I'm going to first subtract the 21 to the other side. It's an old section that never seems to go away. What do? Factor. You got to factor it. Okay. So I need something that multiplies to 21, negative 21, but adds to negative 4. So that'll be minus 7 and a plus 3. And then you're going to solve it. So each of these, so x minus 7 could equal 0, so x equals 7. X minus 3 equals 0, so x will equal 3. Okay, so here you actually get 2. Oops, sorry, I changed it. This is a plus 3, so this should be a negative 3 for the answer. Okay, so you will see some factoring in this. You will see some foiling in this, and things like that. But you're just starting with a very simple cross product. Okay, you're looking for that equal sign, and then you do a cross product to solve. Then after you get through that, it's going to be something else that we've done. So you're going to get to factoring, you're going to get to solving things. You do want to check and make sure that your answers work. So some of these, especially when you have a variable in the denominator, you can't divide by something. Do you guys know what you can't divide by? It's a no-no. It's not allowed. You can't divide by 0. So I can't have an answer, like come up with an answer that when I plug in, it makes this 0. So both of these would work. I can plug in 7 and I can plug in negative 3. That's not a problem. But you will have solutions that come up that will tell you it's an answer, but it doesn't actually work. And you would cross it off like it's not a real solution. Okay, so let me just show you one like that. Okay. And then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so here's one. 5 over x plus 1 equals x plus 2 over x plus 1. So again, we're going to do cross products. Okay, and so I'll have 5 times x plus 1 equals x plus 1 times x plus 2. We got with that? We're okay with that? Cross product. On the left, I have 5x plus 5. On the right, you got to FOIL this. So this would be x squared. I get 2x plus x would be 3x, and then plus 2. So hopefully your FOIL skills are good. If not, work on that. Once you get something like this, you got to move everything to the same side. Okay, so I'm going to subtract the 5x, and I'm going to subtract the 5. So I have 0 equals x squared minus 2x minus 3. And I need that to factor. So multiplies to negative 3, but adds to negative 2. So it'd be negative 3 and a plus 1. Okay, solving that, I'll get 3 and negative 1. Do both of those solutions work? Can I plug a 3 in here? Yep, that'll work. Can I plug in a negative 1? No. What will happen? Negative 1, if I plug it in, I'm dividing by 0. So this negative 1 is really not a solution. It's called an extraneous solution. So it's your work leads you to that answer, but it doesn't actually work, called an extraneous solution. So you would cross it off, and really now you only have one answer, which would be 3. Okay, so you will see that. Watch out for those that happen where the answers, like you get something that doesn't work. All right, well, that was the two sections that you have left in this unit. Are there any questions, or would you need me to do more problems? I'm happy to do something else if you need to see more problems. So go ahead and type in the chat if you do. I know it takes a second for it to load on my screen, but are there any remaining questions that you need? I also have another question for you guys. Is it useful for me to do another call this week, like another one on Friday? Or you guys are like, we're near the end, so we're good? Or would you like me, I'll do another call like next Tuesday. So definitely at least one per week, but yes, on Friday. Okay. So Friday, I won't have anything to pre-teach. It'll just be to answer questions. So I can do that. I can also give you like some like mixed review a little bit, like in order to prepare for that last unit test, possibly, if that's helpful. I'm glad to do it, but if you don't, you're tired of hearing me talk, then it's fine. So I have a yes and a no. Anybody else care to weigh in? Would another call on Friday be helpful? Okay, well, I have a yes. So yes, I'll do Friday. But that's more to answer questions. So make sure you come with some questions that you would like answered. And yes, okay, so I've said on a few calls, we're nearing the end of Ingenuity, which is awesome. So you still have another full week to get through that curriculum. So keep working through it. Again, the very last final time is May 29th, which would typically be our official last day of school anyway. So May 29th at 3 p.m. That is your absolute last time to get stuff in so that we can do grades and figure out where everybody is and get everybody caught up at that point. So make sure that you get through that. I think most of you are working at a pretty good pace. So just stay on top of that and you'll be set. There is a cumulative test in Ingenuity. It's like one of the topics. So make sure you take that. That will be your last grade that goes in the grade book. Okay. Also, I forgot, you guys have bathroom passes. So I will put a thing in the Google Classroom for you to just take a picture of it. When you take a picture, make sure your name is written across the front so that I can see it. Don't show me two pictures. Just have your strip of bathroom passes, or if you've ripped them, just put them together, your name across the front. Otherwise, they won't give you extra credit for if I can't see your name, because otherwise you guys can just share pictures. So make sure your name's on the front. I just need one picture, and then you upload that into the Google Classroom, and I will be able to give you extra credit for your bathroom passes. Okay. Any last minute questions? Anything else you got for me? Okay. Well, have a fantastic day, you guys, and I will talk with you guys Friday, 9 a.m. Okay? See you later.